Hello, beautiful beings of light, and welcome to this vlog or this personal energy update. I used to vlog quite a bit when I first started speaking about my journey publicly, and then the videos just kind of transformed into more of the channeled poetry and the channeled galactic energies. But this is big, and this requires its own video. So I'm sure you guys can tell by how I'm probably going to title this that this is pretty intense and heavy, and I haven't really felt in a space or a place to talk about it publicly until now. But now I do. I feel, in a space of acceptance and a place where I feel like I can share, what's transpired, and, even, some of the lessons that I've learned so far in this journey. And to that end, I think the first thing I want to say before anything else is thank you. Thank you to all of the people that have messaged me to check on me, those of you that are sending me your healing energy, those of you that are envisioning me as healed, just so many of you have sent me just your beautiful energy. And that's meant everything to me over these last few months. Thank you to Gregory for my happy box I got yesterday. It's amazing, and I love absolutely everything in it, and it's made me very happy. And as you can see, I'm already wearing the crystal. Thank you to Kaylee. Thank you to my sister, my mom, my special person, just everyone, all of you that have buoyed me up through these last few months. I definitely wouldn't be in the space and the place that I am now without you. So that's first before I talk about any of the journey. So I guess this all started about the end of February. I found a lump in my breast one morning as I was getting ready, and it was large and it was unsettling, but most of you know that have been following my journey for some time that I have a rare connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's a connective tissue disorder, which essentially means that the glue that holds my body together is faulty. And so the main manifestation that I have with my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, everyone with EDS is different. There's many different types of EDS. But the main manifestation I have with mine is my joints dislocate upon movement. And there's many other things too, but this is the thing I'm contending with, day in and day out. And on my right side, my shoulder is dislocated bilaterally, so both ways at all times. My bicep tendon is torn in two, and I quite regularly, have dislocations and separation in the clavicle area. So my initial thought in finding the lump was that it was a ligamus tear of some kind, because one of the other manifestations is muscle, skin, ligament, tissue tearing. And it happens daily, and it's just part of the condition that I was born with. So I wasn't too alarmed at first, and I tried to treat it with some heat, but it didn't go away. So at that time, I made an appointment with a midwife, to have a breast examination. Still thinking at this point that it was probably a ligamous tear, or at worst it was a cyst, as I have also have what's known as polycystic ovarian syndrome, and have had other cystic parts of the body before. And again, given that breast tissue is all connective tissue, I assumed that it was that, or that I had caused a trauma to the breast through wearing, underwire bras, and quite regularly falling asleep in those, and, putting that weight and pressure, assuming that I had injured my breast in some way. So, long story short, as this process ended up taking several months before I received the diagnosis, it took a few weeks to get the mammogram set up because of the question about safety and efficacy with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and pressing down on connective tissue. At that time that the mammogram was done, I was told then that the doctor examining the test believed that it was, I found out that it was not a cyst or scar tissue, as I had, really been in the belief system of, and that he felt that it was cancerous. And that was still something that was I was not in belief of that, and wasn't going to be until I had some sort of definitive proof. The next step was the biopsy, and this is where the real delay happened, because of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and the propensity for bleeding tendencies and poor wound healing. Although they were recommending that I have this biopsy immediately, none of the doctors wanted to give it to me without some sort of certification that it was safe for them to proceed. So this began a process where I ended up having to see, I think, 5 different doctors and specialists before I finally got the green light to get the biopsy. Finally got the biopsy. Turns out there were some complications. People with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome also do not metabolize anesthesia the same as quote unquote normal average people. So the anesthesia was not effective. I did feel the entire procedure. A titanium tag was placed inside of my breast without my authorization, and there was some issues with the bleeding. They were, it was difficult for them to get the bleeding to stop. Waited 10 days before I got my results. That was the longest 10 days of my life. And unfortunately, it turned out that it was, the cells were cancerous. Obviously, I'm condensing down several months of my life into just a few minutes, and I will be posting written content and possibly narrated content of my journey. So look for that. The running title I have right now is The Anatomy of a Miracle, as I have been documenting just my experience through the journey, as a way of, processing it. Writing for me is and channeling is how I integrate my experience here on earth, and through the sharing and the witnessing of that, my hope has always been to inspire others and bring others a sense of the faith, hope, and love that I experience through my relationship with my team in spirit. So I will be publishing that and begin a series where I'm publishing regularly about the journey. But that is kind of the Cliff Notes version of what's been happening since the end of February. So I guess the next thing that I wanted to talk about was kind of the reason, what is the reason that this is happening, and why didn't I know? Especially someone that's, tapped into the quantum realm and is channeling higher dimensional information and, sees visions and has this relationship with her higher self and the terror group and the angelic realm. Like, why didn't you know? And this was not on my radar at all. Like, not at all. Cancer is not something I've ever been concerned with in my own experience. I've had the experience of moving through the journey of cancer with other people close in my life. But as far as my family history of breast cancer, there is no family history of breast cancer. In fact, it was kind of one of those things where I have so many other, I don't want to call them disabilities. I like to say, I'm uniquely abled and my son is uniquely abled, but I have all these other challenges that it wasn't, I worry about things. I try not to anymore, but in the past I've worried about a lot of things and this just wasn't one of them. So I was kind of, initially I really couldn't even reconcile that this was my life experience, that I was experiencing this. It was hard for me to accept the reality of it. And immediately, I wanted to know, what is the lesson? What am I supposed to be learning? How can I view this as an opportunity? How can I be in a place of acceptance? And the first thing I wanted to say was that my team in spirit, in hindsight, okay, was trying to alert me to the imbalance that was going on in my body. So last year, I had gotten the message that I really needed to start fasting. Now, I've been in various states of restricting different types of foods for over 15 years now. And I have, done fasting in the past. And I had taken it at that time as an adjunct to the fact that I had been trying to lose weight and feel more balanced in my body. If you can remember, 2022 was, the year of balance, and 2023 was bringing us into Trinity. So I had started doing an OMAD fast and then an every other day kind of intense intermittent fasting last year. But by the end of 2022, I was very frustrated with the process and did not feel that it had contributed to my, body transformation in any way. And I had been restricting my diet in various different forms for so many years that I just made the decision to just stop doing that. And to just stop giving it any importance and to just focus on accepting my body as it was regardless and enjoy food. Inadvertently, looking back on that, I then was probably consuming things that was contributing, a contributing factor for a short, 3-month period of time. And they had also given me instructions that my hormones were out of balance. And so I had been taking some different supplements last year to try to balance that out. And I had even made a doctor's appointment at the end of last year to specifically go and start this journey of having my hormones tested, see where my levels were at, etc. So there were messages that were coming through in an effort to clue me up to what was going on in my body. And I did heed those messages to a degree, but obviously I didn't give them the importance that I, in hindsight, that would have been, had a greater impact on my diagnosis. So that's the first thing. They were giving me instruction and continue to give me instruction on the different things that I should be ingesting or not ingesting, and how to go about doing that. So there was a little bit. I just wasn't relating that to cancer in any way, shape, or form. The other thing to keep in mind is that I'm an experiential channel, which means that I'm experiencing the same things that you're experiencing, that I'm discussing, and I'm just looking through a higher perspective when I'm tapped in higher dimensionally. But I still have to filter through and kind of constantly solve the puzzle of what it is that I'm exactly being shown. It's like a constant following of breadcrumb trails that come from multiple different sources, from, the visions that I'm having, the clear audio words that I'm receiving, lyrics in song, what I call text messages from the angelic realm through number synchronicity. There's many different, I do that through the looking glass. There's all these different ways in which I'm using my channel to pull through and filter information and then disseminate that and collate that into a coherent message that can be expressed through one of these videos or the poems that I do. And sometimes it takes me months to understand. And also sometimes these visions are not in a linear fashion. It's not like you're getting a vision and it's like, oh, this is for Tuesday at 3 p.m. It's not how it works. So, and the other thing too is that I would say, if you asked any psychic medium, anyone who identifies as a clair of any kind or a channel or psychic in any way, it's a lot harder also to receive messages specifically about yourself. So that is the other thing. And then, also I think sometimes there's this idea that, if you're pursuing self-mastery, if you're pursuing a spiritual journey, even if you're dedicating your life, which I've certainly tried to do in earnest these last 3 years, to, keeping the channel clear, living in alignment to the words that I'm speaking, the actions I'm taking. Even if you're dedicated to mental self-mastery, where, you're intentionally living, you're intentionally speaking, you're observing your thoughts, maybe intentionally manifesting, however you want to look at that mental realm. Even if you're doing all of these things and you're the best person that ever was ever, does not preclude you from facing challenge and adversity on the spiritual journey. And I think sometimes there is this illusion that if I'm in the flow state and I'm in alignment and I'm fostering, spiritual relationships and higher dimensional relationships, and I'm on a mission and I'm thinking positive, and that it's just going to always be this like blissed out, experience all the time. And unfortunately, that is not the nature of third and fourth density. Third and fourth density is a density of duality. And quite often our greatest catalyst on the spiritual path is pain, adversity, being thrust out of a comfort zone. And as much as we would all love to move into a fifth density experience, which we can be, in consciousness, it still will not exempt you from living in the material realm, being embodied. It's why we came here, to be embodied. And sometimes I think we forget that. And I'm not going to lie. I had, a couple days, I don't know, maybe even a week. I'd have to go back and kind of look through all of the notes I've been writing, because this whole thing has just been very strange. But I did have like a brief period of time where I was just like, how is this happening? How is this happening? It was that just shocking to me. And even with all of my practice and my spiritual practice and my knowingness and everything else, I'm still human. And it's still, it's thrown me for one. The next thing is that I've done some, through all of this, well, I haven't discussed that yet. I've been doing this intense fasting, which I'll discuss next. But through all of this purification and fasting and intense meditation sessions and just this intentional seeking of trying to find, the lesson, the why behind it. And so I went on this kind of vision quest, and at that time, they explained to me, my team in spirit explained to me, well, actually it was this eagle guide, but it was explained to me that this was pre-incarnational in nature, and that it's continued, my understanding of it has continued to evolve. But from what I understand at this point is kind of twofold. That first, this was a part of the integration of body, mind, spirit, that whenever we experience a massive shift in consciousness, David Hawkins talks a lot about the fact that most people are born into what we could understand as a dominant resonant frequency or a morphinogenic field held at a level or a frequency of emotion. And we may never eke out of that an entire lifetime. And so what's happening with the awakening on the planet and this vast shift in consciousness, and certainly the intensity of my seeking over these last many years, it's created a situation in which whenever we move from one morphinogenic field to the next, it's going to create turbulence. And especially when you're moving energy from the higher dimensions downward and the lower dimensions upward, a Kundalini experience, certainly these energies can come to chaos within each other and create these blockages. And especially since I had been doing so much work with the heart center as well, and the intensity of my consciousness expansion experience over these last several years, with the understanding that life and death are always coinciding with one another. From the moment we incarnate, we're on a journey of exploration and expiration. It's the left and the right hand. Our cells are dying and being reborn all of the time. So that was the the first understanding, and that this was an initiation through that process, an initiation into the next morphinogenic field, and that the jump or the move into this frequency has created this turbulence in the physical body, and that overcoming this is a part of this initiation. The next thing that they've explained to me is that part of my mission here, my specific mission, is to clear, I don't know how to term it, like medical paradigm trauma and karmic load from my bloodline. And even just in my own journey, I think I've been pretty candid about the experimentation and trauma that happened as a result of being diagnosed with a rare condition without treatment and cure. And it's not just myself and my bloodline. There have been many members of my family who have experienced trauma. And this is not to blame Western medicine. I have nothing against Western medicine. I think Western medicine has its place and it's amazing in certain ways. This is just specifically talking about, my bloodline, as it were. And the other thing that they explained is that sometimes a soul will offer to experience life born with certain genetic abnormalities or disabilities or birth defects as a way of taking on this karmic load for the monadic group and help kind of accelerate the expansion process for the entire monadic soul family. And so there's many people that are taking on these experiences in order to, accelerate the unfolding, the ever unfolding rose, the expansion of our human consciousness. The other thing is that this is just not specific to me, but as a collective, we are being asked now to let go of our filters of fear. And this was the one thing left in my life that still invokes a sense of fear because of the experience that I had the first time around, as it were, with the Western medical complex. And so this is this has been a real initiation to not operate from a space of fear, even when others are trying to put you into a fear state. To stay grounded, to keep it in its proper context, to not let life stop because I received a diagnosis. So many things I'm learning about how fear infiltrates our consciousness and influences the decisions that we make. And no good decision can ever be made from a fear state. And so these are no longer just words or something I want to manifest in the material realm. This is now life and death. And it's being put to the test. And so I've had to come to terms with that as well. And I think we are all having these experiences now, these choices. Do we act in love or do we act in fear? And it's easy to talk about, and it's easy to do when the stakes are minimal. Much more difficult when it's under these circumstances. And I know I'm not the only one facing this level of gravity in their lives right now. There's this sense of gravitas, this feeling of gravitas, I see being woven through many people's journey at this time. The other thing that I'm learning through all of these changes, these abrupt changes, and having to completely alter the way that I'm doing things, and the fasting, and just everything's changed overnight. And the other big lesson is, what are we still enslaved to? Where are we still attached? I had really thought that I was, like pretty balanced in what I was doing. It wasn't like, I was, I just thought that I had come to a point where, that what I was eating, drinking, intaking substance-wise, that I had really gotten to a good space with it. And then having to give up everything overnight. The fasting regime that I'm doing is very restrictive and very limited in what I can consume right now. And I was shocked at how much I was still enslaved to, attached to. How much I've held on to, needing to put something in my coffee, that being my ritual. And just, you reach these lines where you just think, I don't think I can give up another thing. How can I give up another thing? But it's been surprising to me, my level of attachment in areas where I thought I had balance. And so that is another collective lesson right now. Where are you still attached? And it could be a mindset as well. Apply it to any aspect of life. And it may be surprising to you, especially if you're asked to just overnight make sweeping changes. And finally, I think the biggest lesson I'm learning right now is, and we all are being asked to observe where we are going to war with ourselves, not with others, with ourselves. Where are we not aligned in our thoughts? Where are we consuming things that are toxic or poisonous to us? What type of environment are we surrounding ourselves with? Because with a cancer diagnosis, you're immediately asked to go to war with your body. And I think this comes through fear. Quite often, we agree through fear to go to war with our bodies. And what I'm trying to do right now is get into a healing frequency. I'm trying to create the environment for my body to heal. Physically, mentally, spiritually. I'm not going to go to war with my body. Because I know now that whatever I fight against, I strengthen. Whatever I resist persists. I didn't know that the first time around when I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I have that awareness now. And therefore, I operate from my new point of awareness. And so I've decided at this time to take a holistic approach to moving into this healing frequency. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I can only speak for myself and the hours and hours of research I'm pouring into this, and meditation and prayer and asking for guidance and following my guidance system. And I think every human being is different. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody handles this situation differently, and that's totally okay. I really have no opinion about how someone else moves through this, because it's when you're in these moments where, you know, it's very high level stakes, decisions need to be made quickly. You know, it's easy to just, you know, go along instead of step back and say, okay, what is in alignment for me? So for the last, I think it's been a month. I don't know anymore. I've been doing various different forms of fasting. And the goal with the fasting is to reach a state of autophagy. Autophagy literally means self-eating. And when your body is in a state of autophagy, it creates this apoptosis, which essentially your body can eat the tumor or reduce it or shrink it. And so primarily what I'm doing right now is a combination of 18 to 24 hours, usually 24 hours of fasting, followed by 250 to 500 calories of primarily plant-based, cruciferous vegetables. I have to limit my protein, my fat, no carbs, absolutely no sugar. It's very limited. But it's creating an environment in which the body can heal itself. And then following my cycle, there's then days within a month period where I would be fasting for 48 hours, and then another period where it'd be a 4-day complete fast as well. So that's the first thing that I'm doing. And then secondary to that, I'm taking a protocol of like so many different vitamins and supplements. And that's in order to inhibit cell proliferation and also contribute to the reduction in tumor size. And so I'm still completing my list of that, trying to get on a schedule with all of the different things that I'm taking, and as well as learning how to test my blood several times a day to make sure that my glucose and my ketones are in a proper range. So that in itself has just been a lot to take on board, and I'm getting the hang of it. But it's definitely been the primary focus, certainly this last month, and trying to figure out what I can and can't have, and the optimum time for fasting, how to get my numbers in range with autophagy, in addition to trying to research the various different supplements that will not only stop cell proliferation, but act as these SCOT inhibitors, in addition to, through the dietary restrictions, depriving the body of certain amino acids in the chain that would contribute to the growth of the cell. I'm also doing an hour of sauna daily, red light therapy, walking as I can, so much. And then during this time, I'm continuing to see my Western medical doctors, specialists. I'm continuing to take on board their recommendations, as well as seek alternative solutions. One of the alternative solutions that I'm pursuing at this time is called cryoablation, in which case I would then not have to do a radical surgery. It is a process where a probe is inserted into the tumor and is then filled with nitrous, and it actually freezes the tumor. So I have had a consult with a doctor that runs a surgery center and does cryoablation. And at this time, my objective is to continue autophagy fasting, take the protocol of supplements that will contribute to the reduction, as well as stop cell proliferation, and then try to be able to go through the process of this cryoablation. Unfortunately, none of the supplements or modalities or the cryoablation are covered by my insurance at this time. So my main challenge in the moment, besides trying to get adjusted to all of this, is, the financial constraints. So, but I think everything will, I think it's all going to work out. And I'm just having faith right now. And I am doing my best to continue my own research, as well as, get the right protocol for giving my body the best environment in order to heal itself, as well as doing epigenetic meditations daily and visualizations, and working with my team and spirit, primarily. So it's a lot of change all at once, and I'm still getting adjusted to it. And some days I feel great and have tons of energy, and other days the fasting is really difficult. So that is about it. You are now completely up to date with the goings on of the last several months. And I would just ask that you continue to be patient with me while I figure out how to do the fasting, how to get all the supplements in and all of the treatments in. And I also would love to begin doing high dose vitamin C IV hyperbaric chamber and cryo too, and have found a facility. So I'm going to be researching that. But I'm trying to figure all of these new schedules and routines, as well as attend the myriad of different specialists and testing and all that jazz. So it's a whole new reality for me, and I'm trying to see, get into some sort of flow state with it. And I'm just still at the experimental phase right now. I'm not in the I'm not in a groove yet, but I'm getting there. So I will continue to update you as I can, and look for the blog posts that I'll be putting out shortly, just kind of chronicling the journey, and hopefully helping someone else out there not feel so alone, because unfortunately so many people every day are receiving a cancer diagnosis, and it could be a very fear-inducing experience to have. And if I can, share this journey and it helps someone else feel not so alone, then that's always been my mission with Love Manifest, to not only be witnessed, but to witness others. So I'm sending you all big, 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 big love. Bye.
Just wanted to say I love ya. Scully loves ya. Bye.